Justin. Long time no see, man.
Long time, Ryan. So Tennessee Titans rookie quarterback Cam Ward made his official NFL debut. How did he look? The Titans lost their first preseason game 29-7 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we're here to break it all down. Welcome, everyone, to another special episode of the Music City Audible podcast, the first ever live edition of the Music City Audible podcast, presented by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Melo, and with me not with me as always, but with me tonight is Ryan Watson, formerly of Broadway Sports, former offensive line coach, filling in for Justin Graver, my regular co-host, who I think I quote said he hates you all and he didn't want to be here tonight. No, all kidding aside, Graver had some sort of lame commitment, like it's his fiance's birthday in Las Vegas, and he's whipped. We're not. We're here. Ryan, how's it going? Long time.
It's going great, man. Yeah, it's good to be back on the mic again. I haven't done this in a while, and obviously, as we saw, we're a little late getting on because we had some technical difficulties getting everything back connected. And if you can tell by the gray beard, a little old, so all this technology stuff is a little foreign to me, but we got everything going, and much like the Titans' second or third offense or whatever was out there had a little stumbles, if you will. And as I've seen from some of the comments, yes, fire boil into the sun from all those accounts. So yes, we do agree there for sure.
Well, it's all good. If you guys, a lot of you, I imagine, do remember Ryan, again, formerly of Broadway Sports, helped host a bunch of podcasts over there, the Flex Fantasy Football Podcast with Graver, who was on that show with you, Coach's Corner with Jonathan Boren. Before we get into the recap here, just a quick reminder, if you guys are watching this on Twitter/X, we appreciate you, but you're not able to participate in the chat function. So please head over to YouTube, watch the live stream there, and you could participate in the chat here with Ryan and I. Without further ado, we're going to start with what everyone wants to talk about. We're not going to tease you guys. We're going to get into why Titans fans tuned into this first preseason game. And that's your first glance at number one overall rookie quarterback Cam Ward. Leading up to this game, head coach Brian Callahan said he would play a series or two. Thankfully, it was the latter, because Cam Ward comes into this game after the Bucs go down and score a field goal on their opening possession. And it's a short-lived one. They start with a couple yards, pick up a couple yards on the ground through Tony Pollard. And second and mid, second and 5, second and 6, Cam Ward's first passing attempt to Van Jefferson at the sticks. I thought it was catchable, albeit, it was contested. Coverage was there. Van Jefferson not able to haul it in. We get into a third and obvious passing down. He extends the pocket, rolls to his right. No one comes open, throws the ball away. Titans punt. Tampa goes down, scores a touchdown, extend the lead to 10-0. Thankfully, Cam Ward comes back for his second and what would be his final possession. And that's sort of where the fireworks kind of started. So to give you guys a brief rundown of what happened on that drive, and Ryan, of course, I would love to get some input from you, but he goes 5 of 6 on that drive, leading a 12-play, 65-yard scoring drive. I mean, it's a type of drive that offensive coaches dream about. Certainly the type of one Brian Callahan would love to see plenty of during the regular season. First passing attempt, he hits Calvin Ridley, his go-to target, for 27 yards. They get a penalty. They get backed up into 1st and 20. Well, he hits Calvin Ridley 2 more times, moves the chains once again. Then they get into a third down situation. He finds Chig at the sticks. I mean, this was a veteran throw. Quick, decisive. Chig sits down right there at the marker. He hits him, I believe, in between 2 defenders it was.
Yeah.
Moves the chains. They run the ball a couple times, get into another third down in the red zone. Remember, this is an offense that was really struggling in the red zone at training camp about a week ago. Started to get better. We talked about it on the joint practice recap, Graver and I, where they looked pretty good in the red zone against the Bucs at Thursday's joint practice. Well, what does Cam Ward do in his only third down in the red zone? Quickly hits Tyler Lockett. Simple short throw, but in stride, right? Lockett, the throw was slightly short of the sticks, but the ball placement allows Lockett to kind of, get to the first down marker, move the chains. 2 plays later, Tony Pollard punches it in for a touchdown. Ryan, this was, I thought, okay, there was one throw that he got away with, a pretty close to being an interception. Thought it was a good play by the corner. Thought he was coming off it, but did a great job kind of recovering, getting to that ball. He drops it. But I thought, outside of that one blemish, if you will, this was a pretty good evening for Cam Ward, specifically, of course, this drive. again, that throw to Lockett, the throw to Chig, a couple of those throws to Calvin Ridley, what kind of came to mind for me was this was shrewd, almost veteran quarterback-like play from the rookie.
Yeah, and you said it right. The only blemish I saw from that second drive, obviously the first drive, you don't really see much because they're not out there that long, and you can't really get a whole. And I'll say this, I can't really see much from the offensive line until I get the all-22. I like to judge the steps. You know me, if you read anything about the article I used to read, or used to write, excuse me, I'm not reading while I'm writing. I think I proved that with my Alabama grammar that you and Justin had to go correct for me when I was writing that article. I like to see the steps. I want to see what the play was, and I want to judge who was the down block, who was the reach, who missed what, and who had to cover for who, right? So, but I did see a lot of good things from the offensive line. I'll get to that in just a second if you'll let me kind of roll for a second. I want to start with that one blemish and get the negative out of the way for Cam Ward. Really, what it was with the play design, thinking he wanted to hit that hole in the cover 2 zone. They wanted to have that flash out. They were flashing it out under, trying to keep that corner down. The corner made a heck of a read running under it, and Cam, you saw it. He hit that back leg drop and really quick hit. As soon as his foot hit the ground, he was ripping and roaring with that throw. And that's what's impressive about his physicality and coming through his throw and that quick mechanic delivery to get there. That throw is impressive. Now, he didn't see him coming through, and obviously he was able to get that hand on there. I thought it was a pick, and that's going to be a pick more often times than it's not. And I thought, gosh, I can't believe how brave he was to throw that. And then he shook it off. That was the most impressive thing for me.
Yeah.
And I think I talked to y'all offline before we did all of this, was that the one thing I wanted to see coming into this game was not his successes. How does he handle his failures? And since he didn't really have a failure in this game, honestly, that's about as close as we came to a failure, right? Yeah. So he handled that fairly well and continued on that drive. So now let's back up to the Ridley throw to start. That was an impressive throw because Ridley's coming across the field, and Ridley, man, to sit down in the hole, give your rookie a chance. Again, not seeing the all-22. I'm assuming a lot. So if I turn out to be wrong, I apologize. Coming across, but I'm just judging by the way Cam was kind of hitching his read as he's progressing across the field, and makes a good strong throw for that 27-yard gain, and then Ridley getting up the field. But that next throw where he lofts it over that corner right in, and Ridley's making that diving pretty catch going over to the sideline, just masterpiece of a throw. And I have it in my notes here thinking, I don't think you're going to see two bigger primetime NFL ready throws. And I feel like I'm gushing over a guy that I told myself, let's not get too excited about a rookie quarterback in year one and say, "Ooh, Super Bowl, duh." But like, those are two really good throws. They're going to show a lot, and then have the mistake and still finish out the drive really well. Last thing I'll say, and we'll kick it back to another subject. I really liked what I saw out of the limited reps out of J.C. Latham out of right tackle. I don't want to say names, but I don't think J.C. Latham needs to have an all-pro season to be successful. J.C. Latham is, if he's solid at right tackle, it's going to be awesome. And he slimmed down a little bit from what I saw. He moved really well. Those kick slides looked really, really good off that right side. And Moore looked really good at home over there at the left. I think that this could be a really good tackle tandem. The rest of the offensive line was kind of a mixed match because you got some injuries going into this preseason game. But Skoronski looked good. He looks like Skoronski, So like, I really like the tackle bookends though for this rookie quarterback.
And it's funny, I want to get into that, but the two throws that you talked about, Ryan, if I'm remembering correctly, the diving one near the sideline where he just lofted it over a defender in coverage, the one after I thought was my favorite throw of the evening, where he kind of hit him in stride. Just the ball placement on that one. If that ball's a little behind, it's an interception, I think, in the NFL. And he just the crosser's great. That was the best throw I thought he made all evening. I'm not surprised you got into the offensive line. I expected you to do so, but I'm going to talk about it. Oh, before I get into that, actually, I did want to mention, we talk about a lot about Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley, the chemistry that they've been building at training camp, practice. So good to see that translate so quickly. 3 catches for Calvin Ridley for 50 yards, all on that 12-play, 65-yard scoring drive. Now, back to the offensive line. They invested a lot this offseason, $82 million in Dan Moore Jr., signing Kevin Zeitler. So Cam Ward gets out there. this was 60% of the projected starting offensive line on the field, because you can say 80 if you think Corey Levin might be the week 1 starter at center with Lloyd Cushenberry still on the PUP list, coming off that Achilles. But Kevin Zeitler, a healthy scratch for this game, a veteran. They're not worried about him. So Andrew Rupstich got to start at right guard. Other than that, 60% of the starting O-line with Dan Moore, Peter Skoronski, and J.C. Latham out there. It's early, but Ryan, I don't think we got to get into the all-22. I get that, but according to the eye test and then Pro Football Focus, who immediately released some of their grades, what's the famous on this show? Take it with a grain of salt, yada yada. But not one pressure when Cam Ward was in the game. That to me passes the eye test. I don't recall seeing him under duress ever. And I think what Titans fans will love to hear is the highest graded O-lineman for the Titans in this game from a pass blocking perspective was left tackle Dan Moore Jr., who got that highly criticized $82 million contract in free agency. Now, look, we're not going to ignore the obvious. The Bucs didn't have a whole lot of starting defenders out there, if any. But again, the Titans had 60% of the starting O-line, wasn't 100%. So I don't think Titans fans could quite believe their eyes with how much time Cam Ward had back there. Like, where's Dennis Daly? Where's Andre Dillard? All that stuff. It was really, really good stuff for the first test for this new look O-line.
Yeah, I think, I want to make a point that usually in your preseason games, you're going to see a lot of vanilla defense, right?
Sure, of course.
So, but you're still going to see guys rushing off the edge. And I think that, I know I just said you're going to see vanilla defense, but you're also, with the Titans tackle situations we've had over the past, decade, it seems like, that vanilla defense was even a scare and a worry that you just couldn't even see just a typical edge rusher gave you like, oh gosh, are we going to see? There was times where I was like, oh good, the starter's hurt. Well, who's the backup? Because does he have a spin move? Because that could be worrisome. I'm kind of joking, but maybe I'm not. But my point is that the fact that you had a solid night, he had time to sit in the pocket. The fact that he was able to drop 7-8 yards deep and not have to worry about that large speed rush back there to him. But you saw when the backups got in there and Boyle, like I don't want to give Boyle any any grace, but he gets swallowed up. I was talking with Stoney Keeley in Twitter on messages, like he was like, what offensive lineman do you think in the backups have had a good night? I was like, Jalen Duncan hadn't had a bad night. He immediately gives up a sack. And I was like, never mind. So, the fact that they were early on there, you want to justify the contracts, you want to justify going out and spending money. And that's what I said earlier, is you've got the guys out there that you're not have the complete offensive line just yet, but the tackles are the important parts for your pass protection for the most part. Obviously your floating guards are going to be a big part of it too, picking up the blitzing linebackers from the interior, your center calling out the plays and everything like that. So, but the tackles being able to hold up against the speed rush of the NFL these days is great. And really, I can't tell, again, I know I've said it already, I can't stress how excited I am to see Latham over in his natural habitat. And as big and strong as that guy is, also stepping right in the run game. I know we didn't see a whole lot of that group run blocking, but I really want to get a hold of that all-22 to see those zone gap plays early too, because they look really fluid. And that touchdown for Pollard, I didn't talk about this at all, but really, I know I'm an offensive line nerd audience. I'm so sorry. But the down blocks from those two tight ends off the edge next to Latham were so pretty. They were coming down. You had the two wrap blocks around. Skoronski was coming around wrapping, and he got met in the hole, did just enough. The only reason Pollard did not walk in the end zone is because the Bucs guessed right, and they had a freelance blitzer off the backside who caught him, and he rolled in. But otherwise, he walks in and it's a pretty touchdown. Everything else was blocked beautifully at the point of attack, and that's all you can ask from your offensive line.
Absolutely. There was some teach tape stuff on that touchdown run there. Let's get into something a little unfortunate that happened. Well, there's a lot of unfortunate stuff that happened, but in terms of the starting offense, one unfortunate thing in particular, we've talked a lot about the health of Taj Spears, this offseason, a guy who couldn't stay healthy as a sophomore last year, averaged only 3.6 yards per carry, was kind of in and out of the lineup consistently. well, by all accounts, was having a really good training camp. I got sources down there that were telling me he looked as explosive as anybody on the team. Well, in this game here, after a screen that he took, I think it was like 3rd and 14. He took it for 11, 12 yards, got really close to the first down marker. Looks a little gimpy at the end of it, and then it got worse.
Penalty too. Yeah,
he's carted off the field, apparently, with what they're describing as a leg injury, specifically an ankle. Now, we don't have any more information on it yet. You know, there are times, a great comment in the chat, this Ryan Watson guy has an all-pro beard. I agree, Daniel. Watson's always had an all-pro beard, and he's got all-pro analysis as well. But in terms of Tajay, you know, you'd like to hope, if you're crossing your fingers here, sometimes they could be a little quick with that cart in the preseason, you know, and you see that. I mean, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson got carted off at practice the other day for the Texans, not avoided a disaster. So hopefully it's the same for Taj Spears here. We will wait, until we get more information on the injury. But for a guy who hasn't been able to stay healthy in over a year now, was having a great great training camp period. Looked good at OTAs. This would be really unfortunate if it's something serious. Titans RB depth would take quite the hit. That would put Khalil Mullings potentially at RB2, would maybe give Julius Chestnut a roster spot. So we'll see what happens with Taj Spears. I'm going to talk a little about the starting defense there, and then we'll get into some of the quicker takeaways, the backup stuff. I know a lot of people, sky was falling for a lot of this stuff. I'm going to try to talk you guys off the ledge a little bit. Certainly when, Tampa got the ball first in this game, you didn't love to see the big completions against some Titans defenders in coverage who are going to be starters for them this year. I mean, the first one was with Darrell Baker Jr. in coverage, who will be a starter if L'Jarius Sneed isn't healthy. He's certainly their primary backup at boundary corner. That's what he was last year. I think that's what he'll be again this year. Then there was another one with Amani Hooker in coverage. I mean, some of that was good on good. I don't think it was the end of the world. Eventually, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. had real tight coverage on Emeka Egbuka on a 3rd down. The Bucs had to settle for a field goal. I thought James Lynch looked really good on that first drive, by the way. Had a good run stop at the line of scrimmage and actually hit Kyle Trask, the Bucs quarterback, on that first big completion. If he's there not even half a second earlier, that's a sack or at least an incompletion. By the second drive in this game, and that's why I want to talk Titans fans off the ledge a little bit, the defense got worse as this game went on, okay? But by that second drive, which the Bucs scored a quick touchdown on, was not a good drive. The Titans had almost no starters on the field at that point. I started taking notes. On that drive, I know you're rotating in and out a little bit, but on that one drive, I saw Timmy Horn at D-line. I saw Jalen Kimber, UDFA corner. I saw Gabe Judy-Lally, sophomore UDFA corner. I saw Cam Horsley, rookie UDFA D tackle. I saw Cedric Gray. I saw Mike Brown. I saw a ton of backups on the field for Titans, a lot of which will not make the roster this year. That's how quick the Titans yanked. And then remember, I mean, they struggled stopping the run. That was consistent. No Jeffrey Simmons. He's a healthy scratch. No Tavondre Sweat, who I believe got his tonsils taken out. We saw that report pre-game. Cody Barton, primary linebacker, I think was only in on that first drive, right? I did see a little bit of James Williams on that second drive, who's probably going to start opposite him. Outside of James Williams, though, and Femi Oladejo, who got some run on that second drive, I really did not see a lot of guys that are going to be playing consistently for the Titans this year. So maybe pump the brakes a little bit on, and as it got on, I mean, that fourth quarter, Tampa with the 2 touchdown runs got called back. And then they eventually did one, and horrendous run defense, no doubt about it. A bad night for your backup linebacker. I mean, Anthony Orji did not play in this game. Quick note on Anthony Orji. He won't be playing this year, unfortunately. Season-ending torn ACL in joint practice on Thursday. Really unfortunate for a guy who I had on my 53-man roster projection. Otis Reese did not play in this game. I mean, times we're playing David Benda, UDFA linebacker. They got a ton of UDFA D linemen. So you saw a lot of Cam Horsley, a lot of Isaiah Rakes, Philip Bleedy. I saw Desmond Evans out there.
Evans out there, yeah.
Rusher quite a bit. I'm not overly concerned. We know, I mean, this is a rebuilding team. We know the depth isn't great, but in all honesty, a lot of guys that were on the field in this game aren't even their depth pieces. I mean, these are guys, I saw a lot of Davion Ross, the UDFA corner. I saw a lot of Joshua Bledsoe, who credit him, who just got here, recovered a fumble, which I believe was forced by Davion Ross, the UDFA corner. I saw guys, Jalen Kimber, like I said, Josh, like a lot of guys who are not going to make this team, in all honesty.
Yeah, and here's the thing. After that second offensive drive, I was literally taking notes just to have something to talk about.
Yeah.
And these guys were fighting for – I have in my notes here, this is disappointing for these Titans defensive backups because they're fighting for special team spots. Covering down the field to tackle special teams, kickoff, and punt returns. These guys, they're trying to make a roster or the practice team or put film on for other teams to possibly pick them up. That's the truth of it. This isn't the complete look. Now, it's vanilla both ways, too, because it's going to be vanilla offense as well. It is, Trask beating them up in the middle wasn't great. I hated it, but because I don't think highly of Trask. I also was like, the announcers for the Titans broadcast was basically, there's like 3 or 4 comments where they were hyping up Brandon Allen. I literally had to Google Brandon Allen again to make sure they were talking about the same Brandon Allen that I know. Because are y'all talking about the same Brandon Allen from Arkansas who's been in the league for 20 years? Because I was like, is it the same guy? Because why are y'all hyping him up? But anyway, it's just one of those things where I didn't think I'm probably gonna say his name wrong, right? Rakes, the Texas A&M Auburn D lineman. I didn't think he looked awful because when you talk about the run defense, it didn't look good. But you look at certain guys getting penetration. Did they handle their gap well? I think he did some of those little things really well. I also thought that what's 97's name? James Lynch. I thought he looked really well or really good early. And I thought the Titans defensive line looked really good early. I thought
he had a run
really good.
He had an early run stop at the line of scrimmage, and he had that first pressure of the game where he hit Trask on that big completion.
So there's little things there. So
yeah, no doubt about it. A couple of comments in the chat that I want to shout out quickly because I agree. Daniel asked, why did they let Keandre Coburn go? I'm in full agreement with you. I thought that was premature. I thought Keandre Coburn, I had him on my initial 53-man roster. When they made him their first cut of camp, I was stunned. Sounds like they wanted to get a look at these UDFA D linemen and give them a chance when the pads came on. I just don't get why you make that decision that quickly. I think Keandre Coburn's an NFL caliber player. And I mean, it's not just my opinion. He got claimed off waivers when they cut him a week ago by the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think he makes that team. You can't tell me he's not better than Rakes, Bleedy, and some of those guys who were out there tonight. So I agree. That's a good call. And shout out to Julius Wood, who in the mix of all this awful second half
I thought he looked good.
Play. Yeah, he did pop a little. He brings a hammer. He wanted to hit big. Couple of back-end stuff I want to get into, Ryan, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Brian Callahan talked a couple days ago about the competition at kick return and punt return. Said it was going to be a rotation in these games. Well, for me, the one play that it's too early to say solidified things, but is one that didn't count. And I think you might know what I'm referring to, Ryan. James Prochet, who, if you guys are a long time or loyal listeners of this show, you've heard me on the last couple episodes continue to say that I believe he's the favorite to win this punt return job. He fields one in the face of pressure. I mean, the gumption it takes to field that punt and then makes a move, makes a couple guys miss, returns it for would be 15, 20 yards, not sure what it was, an explosive gain, gets called back for a hold. Ryan, you know this as well as I know. When it comes Monday, whatever, coaches are going to turn on that tape and say, shit, that's one hell of a return by James Prochet. Yeah, it got wiped out, but that did James Prochet a lot of favors in the competition at punt return. A couple other quick notes. Jihad Ward, who they signed after Lorenzo Carter abruptly retired. He's probably their 4th best edge rusher. He did have a sack on the Bucs' second possession. I will caveat that with Kyle Trask. I think held on to that ball. I timed it for 67 seconds. Yeah, 67 seconds. But good for Jihad Ward getting there. It's definitely a coverage sack, but that was something. One player I do want to talk about that I think, I was kind of shocked was the lack of involvement by Xavier Restrepo. At the end of the third quarter, had not played a single offensive snap in this game. He had one snap on special teams up until that point. I thought we were going to see a lot of Xavier Restrepo tonight. Boy, was I wrong. I mean, they had Mason Kinsey out there ahead of him. We saw some TJ Sheffield, Jaquan Jackson. Graver and I have talked a lot about Xavier Restrepo on recent episodes, maybe not being, certainly not gaining the momentum towards making this 53-man roster like a lot of people thought he would. Really not a great yes, correct by Daniel in the chat.
Daniel, I love that.
Boyle threw it near him. That's correct. But the fact that he didn't get on the field at all on offense until the fourth quarter, I thought was pretty strange and most likely not a good sign for him.
Yeah. I wanted to see them force a little bit to maybe they tried to
drafted receiver.
Because I just to kind of get the drafted receiver some looks too. But Restrepo, let's see what he's got. Because obviously Cam, they had the connection in college. Obviously, see if he can make the roster and see if we can finally push Kinsey to the. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's. But again, Kinsey, to his credit, he's stuck around. To quote Rounders, kid's got alligator blood. He just hangs around. It's just those are surprising things that he didn't get at least some sort of out there. And maybe as the preseason goes along, if he's still around, he'll get some. Or maybe, hey, we're not actually at practice. We're not behind closed doors. Maybe there's other stuff going on. Because that's the thing I was going to bring up just a second ago. I've never been in an NFL boardroom. You haven't either. To my knowledge, you're closer than I have possibly with some of your interviews that you've done some great things. I was typing Texas A&M earlier, and every time I type Texas A&M, I always think about that tight end that I almost messed up for you that one time. But do you ever think an NFL executive, when they cut somebody and they see them, how quickly they get picked up, go, ooh, maybe we shouldn't have. But also, we don't see what they're talking about or what they're thinking about when they release these depth charts. We see Restrepo as 8. There might be something else going on that we don't have privileged information for, and I don't have any proof there.
I'm going to address some of the comments in the chat on Restrepo, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, like Mr. 319 here said, I think they're trying to hide Xavier, bring back on the practice squad. I'll tell you what, do the math, okay? How many guys get cut? 32 times 40. You get about 40 cuts per team, roughly, right? You're going down from 90 to 50, right? Give or take. How many get claimed per year? Like 8 or 9 is the average number that get claimed off waivers. They're not worried right now about Xavier Restrepo getting claimed off waivers. That's not the concern. I mean, he went undrafted, so I'm just going to give you guys some insight into that. That's probably not the case there with Xavier Restrepo. We got a great comment here from G-Town. Means either is very safely on the roster or basically a cut. Not safely on the roster, I think, as of now, right? They've got 6 roster locks at receiver. I say that with confidence. The 6th being Bryce Oliver, who I think is their best special teams player. At 7, I thought this was going to be between James Prochet and Xavier Restrepo. And right now, I mean, it looks like it's leaning heavily towards Prochet. I do think Jaquan Jackson's a wild card in that. They seem to still be intrigued by Jaquan Jackson. And remember, he's a slot, plays the same position as Restrepo, got into this game ahead of him. That tends to tell you he's working ahead of him on the depth chart right now. So something to monitor with Xavier Restrepo moving forward. I will quickly end. We'll run through some comments as well, but I want to end this episode with the one thing we haven't talked about that we need to is the backup quarterbacks. I get it. It's probably going to be one of the main storylines coming out of this game after Cam Ward. So Brandon Allen comes in this game and does not look good, right? He goes 6 of 12, 62 yards with an interception. Well, Tim Boyle comes into this game, and I don't want to call it. There's a lot of bad quarterback play in the preseason, a lot of it. But this was about as bad as it gets, right? Like, it's on that level. There was a guy at Graham Marks today who had 3 interceptions, 28 yards. Like, this does happen in the preseason, but this was on that level.
Tonight.
Right? Like, it was on that level. Tim Boyle, 4 of 13, for 24 yards, 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 at the end there. This was really – there's been a lot of talk about the Titans' backup quarterbacks. We knew they were not good. Maybe we didn't know that they were this bad. I mean, I was confident Tim Boyle was this bad. I will say Brandon Allen was about where I expected him to be. Low-level backup quarterback.
Meh.
Yeah, right? Like, this is not going to be a popular take. Everyone's really upset at the backup quarterback. I care so little right now about who the backup quarterback is for this team this year because it is Cam Ward or bust. Like, if Cam Ward is not on the field, that is a disaster, and I don't care who's playing quarterback for them because they're probably, like, you kind of want them to lose, to be honest with you, if Cam Ward's not playing quarterback. At that, like, Joe Burrow gets hurt for the Bengals in year 1 and they get a top 5 pick and they get Jamar Chase. Like that's the – if Cam Ward's not on the field, I don't think you really want – and I believe it's Annie Freeze in the comment. You hit the nail on the head. Like, they brought Brandon Allen here because he had played for Brian Callahan before. He knows the offense, and he wants to he's going to help, or has helped Cam Ward learn this system. He's not here for any other reason. Could they make a play for another quarterback? They could. There was an NFL analyst very much in the know tying them to Aiden O'Connell, who I do believe is not going to be with the Raiders this year. I think they're getting ready to trade him at some point. I mean, do the Titans trade for, sure. Is he an upgrade? Absolutely. Do I care? Not really, in all honesty, right? Like, if Aiden O'Connell starts games for the Titans this year, it's a disaster. No, but you're tuning out of that game. So, yeah. For me, yes, they were horrible. I mean, Tim Boyle's not an NFL level quarterback. I agree that Brandon Allen is meh. It's kind of where I expected him to be. He was a lot better than Tim Boyle. That says more about Tim Boyle than it does Brandon Allen.
Yeah. There's a reason Brandon Allen's still playing in the NFL. There's a reason why teams still keep signing him, and he's been around. I mean, Jonathan Bourne and I had an argument about him when he got drafted back in 2011, 12, whenever it is. I got to look it up. But we literally said, I said, that's the kind of guy that's going to catch on as a journeyman in the NFL and be around for years. And Jonathan said something like, oh, no, he won't even get picked up or something like that. And every time I see his name come up, and the fact that the Titans signed him, I just sent Jonathan a text real quick and went, ha. But Daniel, real quick, Daniel has another great comment here about, Justin, how can we even evaluate these depth offensive players with this lousy QB play? That's a good point for game time situations, but these NFL coaches, and I do think that Callahan is a pretty good NFL coach, and I think he's got some pretty good NFL coaches under him that are coaching for him. They've got a lot of practice time that they are spending with these guys. There's a lot of time they are spending with these character of these players in the meeting rooms, talking with them, getting their understanding, because it's not just, yes, how are they performing in the game time? That is a huge part of it. But it's also, how are they understanding the playbook? How are they responding to us? How are they getting in between what point A to point B within the facility, and how they act? I mean, there's a lot that's going into it. So yes, they do want to see this, but they want to see effort. They want to see that. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. And Allen, I do think, as much as we've kind of dumped on Allen tonight and the other quarterbacks, I think Allen is capable of giving just enough to give you at least a look. And at some point in time, they're going to put Allen. They're going to put Allen behind enough of an offensive line to give them a look, maybe in game 2, 3, or 4, because Allen's going to make the roster, right? I mean, there's no doubt there. And again, to your point, the backup quarterback in the NFL doesn't have to be a stud, because that doesn't exist ever. Anyone. And if your starting quarterback ever gets hurt, you go out and sign another guy, or you go try to find that quarterback who may be retired or not retired, but just that's looking for a job and try to fill that void. But I think Allen can give them a look at some point in time to help them evaluate later on if they're trying to make cuts. And when they're trying to make those decisions, they're not making starting decisions. They're making that 6th, 7th receiver decision. They're making that who's going to cover punts decision, who's my 4th or 5th linebacker decision. So they're important decisions, but it's not starter decisions.
And Brandon Allen actually has had, believe it or not, a couple of decent practices. So he is giving them some good looks at training camp with some of these backup receivers. If you guys got any last second questions, get them in now. While I'm answering one, which could be the final one if you guys don't have anything else, but a good question a couple minutes ago from Walter Phillips that I didn't want to just kind of browse over. Why do you think Jefferson is a sure thing? I do think Van Jefferson makes this roster. In fact, I'll go as far as to say week 1, I think he's probably your starting X receiver. I mean, that's the way they started tonight. That's been the case consistently at training camp. Now, I would love to see Alec Iomanner, who is his main competitor for that spot, get to a point where he's ready to replace him. I think we know what Van Jefferson is at this point in his NFL career, but I certainly think that that Van Jefferson's ahead of him right now and is the favorite to start in week 1. They don't really have any other X receivers on this roster, in all honesty. Like, I thought Bryce Oliver would maybe get some looks there, but he's been playing Z behind Calvin Ridley a lot more. And then you got Chimere Dike, the other rookie, playing both Z and slot. So they don't really have another X receiver on this team other than Jefferson and Iomanner. And you're not going in with, to the season with just one X, and that guy being a 4th round pick, right? A 4th round rookie. So I think Van Jefferson is safe. I think he starts week 1. Think he eventually loses his job, though, to Alec Iomanner. I mean, that's the hope. You want that rookie to look good enough to replace a average veteran. Couple final questions here. What about the running backs if Spears is injured? I mean, they've been churning the back end of that spot a little bit throughout. I mean, they brought in Jordan Mims recently. I think they had Tyrion Davis-Price a couple weeks ago who didn't last long at all. Yeah, they could look there, but in all honesty, I think they'll be somewhat comfortable with what they have. I mean, Julius Chestnut's been on this team for 3 or 4 years. I think he would get that roster spot if need be. And then Khalil Maulings, the Michigan rookie drafted in the 6th round, has looked pretty good at practice as well. So I think they've probably got enough cover there to move forward if Spears is out. I'm going to run through some of these quick questions. How confident are you in the defense? I mean, it's a big TBD. There are a lot of unknowns. Like L'Jarius Sneed, health, number 1. I mean, that plays a huge role in what this defense is going to be. James Williams,
new linebackers,
right? Really good at practice. We've got to see more James Williams. Cody Barton, they've been surprised with how good he's been. We've got to see that translate to the regular season, that partnership between the two of them. For me, the edge rushing spot is the biggest concern, biggest question mark for me. Didn't look that good tonight. They didn't play much, though, right? Like Draymond Jones had almost would-be pressure. He slipped at the top of it, couldn't close. We'll see. But, a lot of question marks on this defense. I don't have a ton of confidence in it, but I think they've got some really Jeffrey Simmons, T'Vondre Sweat. I love the safety room. You didn't really see it tonight. Kevin Winston inactive, Quandre Diggs inactive. Amani Hooker didn't play a lot. Love what they have at that spot. If Sneed is healthy, Roger McCreary, good player at the nickel. We'll see what happens with this defense. Matt Landers, I guess that's in response to my conversation at X receiver. Matt Landers, a former receiver out of Arkansas, he has flashed a little. I mean, he made a big catch in joint practice with the Bucs. Got into the game today. I mean, I don't have him on the 53. I think at best, if he continues impressing, he probably makes the practice squad. I'd be stunned if he took an actual roster spot. New punter, good question, Pop and Go. Something that probably deserves more coverage than it's going to get. Did not think Johnny Hecker looked great tonight. He looked okay at best. He had
first punt was good.
Yeah.
And after that, it was kind of a mixed bag.
4 punts, 178 yards for a net average of 44.5.
Real quick, something that does need to be pointed out is that special teams as a whole for the Titans has been a mixed bag over the past few years.
Terrible, yeah.
With the new special teams coordinator coming in, look for that to be a strength for the Titans now moving forward.
Coverage looked good tonight. We talked about the James Prochet punt return that was explosive. Bryce Oliver had a catch. That's correct, Mr. 319. That was a good throw actually by Brandon Allen. That was his best throw of the evening. Was the one that he fit into Bryce Oliver. Mr. 319, what about the new left tackle? We talked about Dan Moore a little earlier. According to Pro Football Focus, had the highest pass blocking grade for the Titans O-line in this game. Grain of salt, we always say with PFF, but Brian and I talked extensively about the O-line. No pressures on Cam Ward from what we can see. There were a couple plays where he had 3, 4, 5 seconds in the pocket. Really what you like to see out of the O-line today. So tonight, if you will. Hey, Justin and Ryan, at what point do you see Gunnar Helm as tight end 1? I'll tell you this, not during the season, in all honesty. I like Gunnar Helm. He had one nice catch in this game. Been great at training camp by all accounts. I think he's, how much he plays, I think what gets lost in that conversation also comes to a little bit of, this team runs a lot of 11 personnel, right? So when they've only got one tight end on the field, that's going to be Chig. I don't think that's going to be Gunnar Helm. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's got a bright future here. Remember, Chig in a contract year. Gunnar Helm is going to contribute. He's going to be a good player for you.
He's going to play a lot.
He's going to play, but I don't think he'll be the tight end one at all this season as long as Chig is healthy. I think one question here, Mike Vrabel's burner, don't worry about Amani Hooker. Yes, he did give up that one catch. Amani Hooker had 5 interceptions last year, one of their best defenders. We're not going to make any stark takeaways on one preseason catch that Amani Hooker gave up. I'm worried about the run defense from its Tony Ransom. Let's keep in mind, no Jeffrey Simmons, no Tavondre Sweat. They're 2 best run defenders, right? So let's, it's fair to ask questions. They weren't good stopping the run at the end of last year, and they had those 2 guys. So fair to ask questions, but a lot.
The Bucs went to the well. They were running the same off-tackle rat play the entire second half, and they just were killing the Titans. And I don't think the staff was really wasting time putting in an adjustment, because why?
No.
So they were murdering them in the second half with it.
Fair question. I'll end with this. I agree. Didn't love the decision to cut Ryan Stonehouse, but TBD, that was, John Bones Fossil is one of the best special teams coordinators in the NFL. Apparently that was his call. He wanted, Johnny Hecker was his guy. He had coached him before. So we'll give him some grace on that based on his resume, but we'll see. I agree. Top tier. Ward and the O-line, most important takeaway. That's the most important thing going into this year. It's the rookie quarterback and what that O-line looks like. This has been a very, very special live edition of the Music City Audible podcast covering week 1 of the preseason. Yes, a 29-7 loss. Who cares? They won a bunch of preseason games last year. Didn't matter. They almost won as many preseason games as they won regular season games last year. That's how much it matters. So almost a good thing that they lost this game. Most important, Cam Ward looked good. Calvin Ridley looked phenomenal. First team O-line looked really good. So
backup O-line was okay too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Special thank you to Ryan for playing utility here, stepping in for Justin Graver on this one. More live shows, absolutely top tier. I don't know if we've said it on the show yet, but Graver and I have talked about going live every Sunday this year after the Titans game. So you might get used to this format once September rolls around. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you missed the live stream, I guess you'd be watching this anyway, so this might be a stupid thing to say. But if you want to go back and watch it again, I'll say it like that. This will be posted on the YouTube channel immediately here. As soon as this live ends, it goes on the YouTube as a regular episode, so you can watch it anytime you guys want. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ryan, thank you so much for stepping in for Graver. High-level analysis, as always. Ryan coached O-linemen at a high level, if you're not familiar. That's why he couldn't wait to talk about them. I guess I'll end with Graver's usual sign-off. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.